Welcome to the Language Alchemy Podcast, where we explore how our communication patterns and language we use directly impact our lives and relationships. Thank you for joining me today. This is your host, Alejandra Siroka, a communication teacher and coach who is devoted to helping multicultural individuals, change makers, and couples engaged in personal growth experience the life and relationships they long for through the transformative power of conscious communication. Today, we are exploring what I've discovered to be the two core values that are essential in every meaningful relationship. And these are safety and connection. Let me start by sharing a true story from my childhood in Argentina. I think I was about 6 or 5 years old. My dad and I were in the car. We were coming back from our favorite bakery. He parked across the street from our house, and as soon as he opened his door, I opened mine. My door faced the street, and I rushed out of the car with the fresh baked baguettes in hand. I was so excited to get the warm baguettes into the house that I didn't notice a car was fast approaching, and I crossed the street without looking. The car nearly hit me. Well, my dad ran to the street, grabbed me, and as soon as he put me down on the sidewalk in front of our house, he shook me, yelling, "Never do that again! Never do that again!" I still remember how red his face looked and how big his green eyes were. I had never seen him looking that way. I was so scared that I ran to my room. I have no idea what happened to the baguettes. All I know is that I started packing my little suitcase with my doll's clothes, determined to leave home. When my mom came to my room to find out what happened, I remember saying to her, "I am leaving. No one will treat me that way." Of course, my mom convinced me otherwise. But I would not talk to my dad at all. And if you've been following me for a while, you know that one of the communication patterns I inherited as a child was to cut communication when I felt upset. I am sure that then I couldn't even make eye contact with him. But what he did next taught me something profound about these two universal core values every meaningful relationship has. My father understood that connection was vital to me. He went to the bakery, bought a tray with my favorite pastries, and wrote a note on it. The note said, "Can we be friends again?" He left that tray of pastries on my desk. This moment perfectly illustrates how safety and connection interweave in our relationships. In my many years of working with multicultural individuals and couples, I've noticed that of all the relational values we care about, such as affection, respect, trust, transparency, there are two relational values that must be present in any meaningful relationship. Those are the values of safety and connection. And in fact, there is no healthy relationship without safety and connection in place. These two relational values are universal. They transcend age, gender, nationality, religion, sexual orientation, ethnic backgrounds, political beliefs, you name it. They are woven into the very fabric that makes us human. And we humans are relational beings. Whether you are a CEO in Silicon Valley, a farmer in India, a student in Brazil, or a grandmother in Japan, you carry the same fundamental relational values. Safety and connection are the primary colors from which all other relational values are painted. That is to say, that you can't have trust, transparency, harmony, intimacy, or affection if you don't have safety and connection first. Perhaps you're now wondering about safety and connection and would like to go a little deeper in your understanding. So let's talk about what safety and connection mean in our relationships. When we talk about safety, we're not just talking about physical security. We are talking about safety in a more integral way. For example, when there's safety in a relationship, there is emotional safety, the freedom to feel what we feel and the freedom to express our feelings without fear of judgment. When we talk about safety here, we're also talking about cultural safety, the ability to express our heritage and identity without discrimination, mockery, or criticism. And we're also talking about psychological safety, knowing that our vulnerabilities, sensitivities, and human limitations will be held with care. In essence, when we talk about safety in relationships, we talk about the freedom to move, be, and express ourselves without having to protect any aspect of ourselves from the other person. Now, how about connection? Connection as a relational value manifests in our deep desire to belong, to be understood, to matter to others. Connection is present in the joy we feel when someone truly gets us, in the comfort of feeling listened to, or in the delight we experience when someone celebrates us or something that is important to us, or when someone expresses empathy and compassion when we are having a hard time and they are not trying to change us. We can experience connection at different levels depending on the nature of the relationship. For example, we could have intellectual, psychological, emotional, spiritual, sexual, familial, platonic connection. But in essence, connection is present in a relationship when we feel accepted as we are. Let me share about how these relational values show up in family life. I worked with a client, let's call her Maya. Maya grew up in a family where academic achievement equated love. Her immigrant parents showed care through constant monitoring of her grades, which is a way many parents try to ensure safety for their children's future. Maya carried this pattern into parenting her daughter, let's call her Sophia, who was struggling with anxiety about school. When Maya would spend time with Sophia, Maya would begin conversations with questions about tests and homework, immediately followed by solutions, study schedules, tutors, working harder. What Maya couldn't see was how Sophia would physically withdraw, shoulders hunching, eyes looking down, answers becoming shorter and shorter. During one of our sessions, Maya recalled getting sick during a college final. Her father, breaking from his usual focus on grades, simply sat by her bed and held her hand. Maya said to me, "That's the most connected I ever felt to him." And then tears came. As we made space for all these feelings to be as they were, Maya said, "Alejandra, at that moment, my dad wasn't trying to fix anything." And immediately after that, she had this realization that transformed her relationship with her own daughter, Sophia. Maya learned to start conversations with, "How are you feeling today, sweetheart?" Or, "Is your friend so and so better from her cold?" Once Sophia felt emotionally safe and connected to Maya, she actually began sharing more about her academic challenges. Now, Maya was able to have the relationship she wanted with her daughter, which was more harmonious and less combative, all because she was able to create a space for connection, Sophia's most important relational value. In romantic relationships, these values go hand in hand. in having supported hundreds of couples, I had one of the greatest discoveries in my work. Even though we all rely on these two relational values, we all prioritize either safety or connection as our primary relational value. For me personally, connection is my primary relational value. And my dad knew it. That is why when he noticed our relationship needed repair, he wrote the words, "Can we be friends again?" Because he understood that my wanting to leave the house with my dolls and my inability to talk to him or make eye contact with him stemmed from my perception that my relational value of connection was no longer there in our relationship. If my primary relational value had been safety, then I would have reacted differently. Maybe I would have still gone to my room, but I would have gone to my room to hide in my closet so that he couldn't find me and I could protect my sense of safety. But that was not my orientation, because even though I felt scared when he shook me on the sidewalk, I felt safe with my dad. I never felt that he was going to do something hurtful to exert his power over me. In fact, I never experienced a sense of powerlessness with him, which is what many people who prioritize safety tell me they experience. In my work with couples, I see that when one partner is constantly asking for reassurance of the relational value of connection, they want to hear, "I love you" a lot, or "I'm thinking of you." They want their partner to put their arm around them when they're at a restaurant with friends, or to always hold hands when they are walking side by side on the street. And if their partner doesn't do these things, then they accuse their partner of not being affectionate, or they question their partner's love. All because they don't know that their primary relational value is connection. Now, when someone has a primary relational value of safety, they often feel pressured and overwhelmed by such requests, because for them, they want to be able to do or say affectionate things, loving things when it feels authentic to them. And if they don't feel safe to be themselves, then it is hard for them to connect. Once the couples I coach understand their partner's primary core relational value, they uncover a whole new way of seeing, understanding, and communicating with their partners. Now they talk to them having that relational value in mind for both of them. It's really beautiful for me to witness how relationships transform once the partners are able to get this about themselves and their partners. In most cases, they decrease their fights and friction by 80%. Now, it's important that neither is better than the other. Connection isn't better than safety or vice versa. They're simply different core relational values through which we experience our relationships. When someone has a consultation with me because they're considering having me as their transformative communication coach, I can tell within the first 20 minutes of our consultation which core relational value they have. And when we talk about it, people usually say, "Yes, that's true. How did you know? No one has ever told me this about myself before." Well, I know because this is my area of expertise. I pay attention to the language people use when they communicate and when they share what their main communication relational issue is and what they long for. At the core of their struggles or their deep desires, there's always either safety or connection that's calling their attention. Once you know what your primary core relational value is, not only your life and relationships will make much more sense to you, but you will also have the possibility to understand which communication tools you need to learn to have the kind of meaningful, authentic, and harmonious relationships your heart longs for. But how do you know? Well, I will tell you 3 things you can do to discover your core relational values. 2 of them are with me. The first one is that you can schedule a communication coaching consultation with me. At the moment, I have 2 coaching spots available. If you're interested, visit languagealchemy.com to find out more. These consultations are 60-minute long for individuals and 75-minute long for couples. Number 2, and perhaps more affordable option, is to sign up for the group coaching program I'm starting on February 4th. Group coaching is a powerful program open to only 10 individuals. This is a 3-month-long program in which I give you the specific communication tools you need at this time to ensure you have both safety and connection in your relationships. And of course, I will help you uncover which relational value is more important for you. And number 3, you can start finding out more about these relational values by reflecting on challenging interactions and noticing why these interactions are challenging for you. Do you feel unsafe in some way? Or when you had that interaction, did you feel that the connection, the relationship, or your belonging was somehow at risk? If you take the time to reflect on this in an ongoing basis for at least a couple of weeks, you will find out more about your primary relational values. Before we recap what you've heard in this episode, I want to encourage you to have compassion for yourself and for others. If someone feels unsafe or disconnected from you, remember that 99% of the time, it's not about you. It's about their past experiences and learned responses that have become communication patterns. And now let's recap what you've heard in this episode. Today, we talked about the 2 core relational values at the heart of every relationship: safety and connection. I share with you that we cannot have healthy relationships unless we pay attention to the fulfillment of these 2 values. I told you a true story from my life and a story from clients to illustrate how safety and connection play out in our relationships. I also explained what safety and connection mean in relationships and how different people prioritize one of these 2 and find it hard to experience the other relational value without feeling the presence of their primary relational value first. At the end, I gave you 3 ways to uncover your primary relational value. Thank you so much for listening, and a special thanks to my clients Heather and David and Lori and Kimberly, who are working so beautifully with their core relational values of safety and connection. Until next episode, and as we say in Argentina, ciao ciao! Original music by Gary Lapo. You can find all links in the show notes at languagealchemy.com.